Okay, hello and welcome to Xeon Talks. So, we're going to talk about the Epstein files, and I'm going to share some common sense knowledge with you. Are you ready for common sense, boys and girls? Because the rest of the world isn't. Okay, so let's just jump into this. The Epstein cult were not Jews. None of them were Jews. None of them. Absolutely none of them. I have literally looked to see who was Jewish and who was not. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people, a lot of celebrities involved, politicians, Epstein himself. I haven't seen a single Jew. So let's get on track. In the Epstein files, they constantly use the word goyim as a slur. And the word goyim is never a slur. There's only two people in this world that ever use goyim as a slur, and it's the Nazis. The people who are trying to rile up people to hate Jews, they use that all the time. They say, oh yeah, the Jews think you're a goyim, as if it's a slur. I've got news for you. Israel is literally called the goyim several times in the Tanakh, and they're literally called the HaKadosh Goyim. Okay? Hello, goyim is not a slur, it never was. So only Nazis use that, and the other people that use it are non-religious, evil Jews. The people who are non-religious that are Jewish, and they are evil. They use that. I've seen it. I've lived through it. I've been called goyim many, many times by extremely disgusting people who I sit and I scratch my head and I say, Hashem, how are you using this person to do good in the world? Because all they do is pure chaos. I have been attacked many, many times by non-religious Jews who use the word goyim as a slur. And I'm like, that's not a slur. And they think it is because they're brain dead. They're disconnected from Israel. They're disconnected from Hashem. They're disconnected from the Tanakh. They are not a part of any of it. And they run around, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew. And you know who they are. They're on Facebook. There's a particular lady that was on Facebook that I became friends with, and she was known as a great debater against Christians, and I was like, wait a minute, why is she the Jew that everybody's pointing to as a great debater against Christians when she doesn't even follow the Torah at all, and she's super non-religious? Like, she has words against the Talmud. She speaks against the rabbis. She speaks about and against organized religion constantly, including Judaism. And then people are like, oh, yeah, but, and they bow to her. And I was always like, what? I didn't understand it. I don't know. I guess some of the guys and the people that were following her were friends of hers, and they just, I don't know. I can't make heads or tails of it. And I'm just like, why don't you follow an actual Orthodox rabbi, guys? If you want to see somebody debate against Christians and give you good stuff to go with, go to the people who are living what they preach. You know, it never made sense to me when these non-religious Jews are on social media hating on Christians for being pagans and not following God, when they do not follow God at all. Make it make sense. It's hypocritical. Okay, so in the Epstein files, I'm going to try to use certain language because the Epstein files are horrific. So in the Epstein files, there is clearly torture. They're discussing torture videos. They're laughing amongst their inner circle, enjoying torture videos, enjoying chattel slavery of other human beings, of hurting other human beings, sexual stuff with other human beings, even against these people's will, and crazy stuff, and mutilations. There were claims that they were cutting off arms of people and legs and feet of people just for the fun of it. There was also a claim of an initiation where they took a boat out to international waters, and in order to be initiated into the Epstein group, you would have to do horrific things to boys and girls and then cut off their feet on camera, and it was used for blackmail. Now, I don't know about you, but the rest of the world seems to say, well, they're Jewish. George W. Bush is not Jewish. and there were all kinds of emails talking about him and an initiation, allegedly, and constantly through this email, you had Epstein saying, "This is what the Jews do," and it was blood libel after blood libel after blood libel. You had email confirmation where these people were doing horrible things to kids and eating human flesh and drinking blood from humans. And Epstein's like, "Let's toast. This is what the Jews do." If you think that's what the Jews do, congratulations. Adolf Hitler is very proud of you. You are 100% a Nazi. Where does this stuff come from? It comes from Nazi blood libels. One of the biggest blood libels books that are still published today and sold is Candace Owens' favorite book of all. It's called The Talmudic Jew. It's been debunked over and over and over and over. Multiple rabbi and multiple religious Jews have pointed out what's in the Talmudic Jew versus fact. Neeson Black did one recently exposing the Talmudic Jew, and he went on and on about how it's been debunked, and it has. It's been more debunked than anything else in human history. If you think William Shakespeare had conspiracies and debunks to it, and people think that William Shakespeare was not a real person, it was some royal guy that was really writing for him, and all these other conspiracies. If you think that was a rabbit hole, you should see the rabbit hole that comes along with that book, The Talmudic Jew. The Talmudic Jew is Candace Owens' favorite book. It is a Nazi propaganda book, and it lies nonstop. First of all, it claims that all Jews follow the Talmud. There's no such thing as a Talmudic Jew. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. When you say that someone is a Talmudic Jew, you are saying that that has some kind of authority with halakha, and that's not where Jews go to get the halakha. Okay? The Shulchan Aruch is where people who are Jewish would go for the halakha, or they go to their rabbi. I mean, the Talmud is many, many things. It's arguments, it's debates, it's teaching you how to think, it's teaching you how to see arguments. It's like a handbook for if you want to be a lawyer, basically. But in many cases, it doesn't even tell you what the halakha is. Now, sometimes it will say that so-and-so was arguing about this, so-and-so was arguing about that, and then it says, but the Gemara says that so-and-so was right, and this is why. But it's not every time. It's not every time. You don't go to the Talmud to understand halakha, okay? The Talmud is a book that should be considered a top book in Judaism, yes. But it's not where everybody's getting their rules and their laws from. So this book that Candace Owens loves and that the Epstein circle loves is called The Talmudic Jew, and it claims that Jews are doing disgusting stuff that they're not allowed to do. So let's go over that. First of all, Jews are not allowed to drink blood. Okay? They're not allowed to drink animal blood. They're not allowed to drink human blood. The only exception would be to save a life. You're either saving your life or you're saving a person's life. Let me give you an example. Let's say that somebody was bitten by a snake, okay? And you know that they could possibly die from this snake bite, so you tourniquet higher up on their limb and you start sucking from where the bite happened, or you even take a knife and you do a small surgery and you start sucking out blood and spitting it out. There has been cases where this has helped the person and it's gotten some of the venom out. Now, that would be a case where a Jew can have the blood in the mouth, but they're not drinking it. I mean, the purpose of it is to get the blood out to save that life. The only situation I could even hypothetically think of is if the only way you could ever drink and ingest blood would be to save your life, would be if you were stranded somewhere, there's no food anywhere. And you have an animal You wouldn't even drink. You wouldn't even really drink blood at that point because you'd have the meat of the animal, so you'd eat that. So never mind that. Now I was gonna say maybe you could drink the blood in a hypothetical to save your life, but our stomachs don't digest blood. People don't understand that. You don't digest blood. It runs through you. It causes problems. Our stomachs are not meant to digest blood at all. Not even a little bit. Most animals can digest blood. Predators can digest blood. Although we are considered a predator in a lot of biological terms with our teeth, the way our digestive acid is, and things like that, we do not digest blood. So even in a hypothetical, I can't even really think of a hypothetical. I mean, unless you have a bunch of, okay, I got you one. You're on an airplane and it crashes somewhere high in the Appalachian Mountains, or, well, that would be a bad one. Himalayan mountains, thousands of feet high, and the airplane had a bunch of IV bags. There's nothing else. So you eat the food, and then eventually you got to start drinking the IV bags for nutrients. But at that point, you're not really getting nutrients because it runs through you. So why a intellectual Jew would not even do that then? They'd have to hike down the mountain. You hike or you die. You stay at the airplane and die. I can't think of a hypothetical where you would drink blood. I can't even think of one. I'm sure there's one out there. I'm sure. But the only way that you could drink blood or eat human flesh would be to save your life. Now, if an airplane crashed on some, at Mount Everest, and some of the passengers died and you ran out of food and for some reason you're stuck there for weeks, I'd be walking down. I don't care. I don't care if I had broken legs. I'm not staying up there. Help's not coming there. There are thousands and thousands of bodies on those mountains littered because people died and they thought that, they were going to be saved by their fake religion or whatever, and they're dead up there. There's bodies everywhere up there. I don't care if I had broken legs. I'll slide down on my stomach. I don't care. I'll freeze and slide down. And you know what? If I get hypothermia and I stop and I die, at least I'm halfway down the mountain and they can find my body. Okay. But the only way you'd ever be able to eat human flesh, hypothetically, would be if you are stuck there, you don't have any food, and the only thing you can eat is the frozen passengers. Okay? You are allowed to break the rules in order to survive or save a life. But even that's strict. Even a religious Jew would turn their stomach at this idea, and they'd be like, nah, I'm going to starve for a couple days, and I'm going to spend a week getting off this mountain, okay? That's the only hypothetical I can even think of. So in the Talmudic Jew, this book has been debunked left and right. Like I said, Nissan Black did a video recently on it. But the Epstein crew are constantly repeating things out of it. That should have been your first hint. They're not Jews. They're constantly using the word goyim as a slur. Israel is called goyim. Israel is called the Hakadosh Goyim many times. In literature, in the Tanakh, in Talmud, the word goyim literally means the nations or the nations. That's what it means. How is that a slur? So if you're talking about the Native American nations, you're talking about the Native American goyim. That's not a slur. So people who use goyim as a slur, that's a big giant red flag that they are not connected whatsoever to Judaism or to Jews or to Israel. Okay? People who are drinking blood and then they say, hey, this is what the Jews do, that's a pretty big red flag for they're not connected to Israel, they're not connected to Jews. I'm just saying, people who are enslaving people in chattel slavery and sexually attacking them and hurting them, and then delighting in it and talking within their inner circle about eating their flesh and doing things with the babies that they have, eating the babies and stuff, that's a pretty big red flag for those people who are not whatsoever connected with Israel at all, or Judaism. Like, hello, but you've got people who read this and they see Epstein saying, let's toast, this is what the Jews do, and they're drinking babies' blood and stuff, and these people really think that that's what Jews do because Epstein said it. Epstein had a high IQ. He was a genius, but he was also known as a liar. He was many times caught lying about who he knew, who he influenced. He was the kind of guy that would take a picture with a celebrity and he'd say, "Oh, yeah, I know him. They come over for dinner. They do this, blah, blah, blah." And he's lying about it. And he's only met this person one time. So then what he would do is he would spread this information, and the Hollywood people and the politicians that he did know, he'd invite them. And he would get them to the dinner table, and he'd tell them, "Well, I know that guy," when he did not. And then he'd have his agents in his inner circle working on trying to get that person to a dinner. There were several times that he was caught lying about people. If your only proof that you think that the Epstein circle were Jews is because it says in the Epstein files the Jews do this, and it's coming from Epstein and anybody in the circle, if that's your proof, you have the IQ of a rock. I'm sorry, you have the IQ of a rock. Jews are not allowed to eat human flesh. First of all, humans, they're not even kosher. A human is not kosher. You can pan fry them. You can have a rabbi. You can have the best rabbi in the world. Turn the fire on, on the stove and cook up human meat, however you want to do it, and it's never going to be kosher. Okay? A Jew is not allowed to eat a human being. A Jew is not allowed to torture a human being. A Jew is not allowed to murder a human being. Okay? I'm sorry, but the Epstein files are full of him lying and exaggerating his influence constantly. And people are like, "Oh, well, he's also Mossad. He's Mossad. He's Mossad." I have not seen any proof that he's Mossad. However, I want to tell you this. There's more stuff coming out. Maybe we find out Mossad did have him as a spy. I don't know. Do you really think that Mossad or that the United States or that UK or Russia or China, all of their spies are good, principled people? Do you really think that the only spies in the UK are people like James Bond? Like the hero that always tries to do good? Sure, he kills bad guys, but he's trying to save the world and do good. Do you really think that they haven't taken people out of like Hell's Angels, the motorcycle group, and hired them as spies and used them? Do you really think that every one of the spies in all of the nations are good people? Because if you think that, I got news for you. I wouldn't be shocked if we find out that Epstein was a United States spy or a Mossad spy. But even if he was, and it's proven that he was, that does not mean that he's Jewish. That does not mean that the things that he was doing is somehow connected to the Jews. And yet it's all over social media and it's catching like fire. Well, let me tell you something. At the end days before Mashiach comes, the world is going to get more anti-Semitic. And with the Epstein files alone, they have created anti-Semites more than even Candace Owens has. Okay? You have good, rational Gentiles who have literally deep dived into the Epstein files that come back and tell me that I need to get out of Judaism, I need to have nothing to do with it, nothing to do with the Jews, leave every rabbi behind, because this is what the Jews do, because they read it on the Epstein files. I want you to think for a minute how stupid that is. There are 36 Karaite sins, and there's laws for the Karaite. A Karaite Jew is somebody who has done these 36 sins. And it literally tells you in the Tanakh, they're cut off from the people, they're cut off from the covenant, they're cut off from the land, Israel, and they're cut off from the world to come. What is it that makes a Jew a Jew? It is the covenant. What does the covenant involve? It involves the people. It involves laws that says that the people will do these things in every generation and that the laws are eternal. It involves the land. And it says many things about the land, from being exiled out of punishment to coming right back. It has the land in the covenant. It has the, what else did I say? Yeah, the world to come. So the world to come with the covenant is not fully explained because the idea is you do good things because God wants you to do. You don't do good things for reward, and you don't do good things to get out of punishment. Now, I know that might blow some people's mind because a lot of you are in a religion to only be in that religion to get away from the punishment. And that is dumb. That is very, very dumb. A lot of you are like, "Oh, my deity saves me." Saves you from what? Saves you from what? Have you not read your own religion's claims? They're horrific. You need your religion teaches you that you need some deity to come save you because there's a punishment that all these people are going to go to. That's terrible. That's disgusting, guys. No. If you just read the 7 Noahide laws, you would understand that God is extremely merciful. You have to be a sicko. You have to be in the Epstein circle doing the things that they were doing in order to break the Noahide laws. Like, it's really not that hard. It's try to be a good person. Don't abuse animals. Don't abuse people. Don't murder people. Like, don't steal. You still want to honor your mother and father. These are common sense things. And we're even shown that even when a Gentile messes up, that God still gives them the benefit of the doubt. If they didn't know a law and they were breaking a law, God does not judge them the same way that he would somebody who knew the law and broke the law. We have a merciful God. Judaism's God is the only God, and he's very, very merciful. But when you live in a world with all these religions, a religion of stone, a religion of wood, you got religion of monkeys, you got people that talk about a monkey deity, you got people that talk about a thunder deity, a sea deity, all this other garbage. But in Judaism, we learn that there's only one God and that he rules everything. And the word everything includes everything. That you don't, and then you got other people that are like, "Oh, well, I have a deity of I don't know, of fertility." What? And then they will tell you there's a deity in their religion for prosperity. And then there's a deity for lumber and working on lumber things. Then there's a deity for people that are on ships and the water and the like. What? What? Oh boy. So listen, there's a bunch of stuff in the Epstein files that shows that the people in the Epstein circle not only supported, but they read the Talmudic Jew. They use the same language. They use the same blood libels. They repeat it, and then they say, "This is what the Jews do." And some of you have read that and you think it's legit. I'm telling you right now, that's beyond insane. That's beyond insane. You already knew Epstein was an evil man. You already knew that he was a liar. The Epstein files show that he lies about celebrities. He takes a picture with one and says that he's known him all his life when he just met the guy. And then Epstein's like, "This is what the Jews do. Let's toast. Let's drink our baby's blood." And they're drinking it, and I don't even want to go through the motions because it's a disgusting ritual. And you've got people who read this, and they're telling me that the Jews hate all Goyim because you read about it in the Epstein files? It's called the Epstein files. It's not called the Jewish files. It's called the Epstein files. It's not called the Jewish files. Everything that Epstein did, lived for, and thrived on is against Torah. It's against even the Noahide laws, the B'nai Noach. It's completely against it. This man was somebody who beat and sexually attacked children and men and women. He did chattel slavery. That's the bad slavery. There's different kinds of slavery. Indentured servants, chattel slavery, things like that. Chattel slavery is when people are enslaved and they don't even have the rights of an animal. You just beat them, use them, whatever you want. They're property, basically. You can think of how the Democrats in the South were with their slaves. That was chattel slavery. Okay, like Chattel slavery is not even allowed under Torah. If you read the servant masters and the servant laws that are in Judaism, they're beautiful. You're not allowed to hurt your slave. A master cannot even sleep on a good bed if his servant does not have a good bed. It even states you cannot give poorly made wine to your servants if you are drinking fine wine. You have to give it to them. You cannot have nice clothes and they're in rags. It literally says that. It also says things like you can't harm a hair on their head. And there's even a law that is it's like a sneaky law, and it says that if your servant comes to you and says, I have a toothache, and if the master is a dentist or he's going to work on the guy's tooth, if he accidentally breaks that man's tooth out, that servant is allowed to be freed, and the master has to pay to him, and he's free. Because you're not allowed to hurt them. And we can't have slavery like that today, okay, guys? But you got people like the black Hebrew Israelites who are not Jewish, and they absolutely perverted these slave laws. And they claim they're going to do all this horrible stuff to white people and other people, and they claim that they are the true Israel, and they claim that all the Sephardi Jews, all the Ashkenazi Jews are some fake psyops, and they're not even the real Jews. They claim all this garbage. You can literally go and read the slave laws, the servant laws, because it's the same word in Hebrew, slave servant. And you can see that what these black Hebrew Israelites are preaching are not the halakhic laws of that time at all. Now, you can't have servants and masters without the Sanhedrin, period. When Mashiach comes back, I really doubt that we would ever have it. I really doubt. I doubt that we would have it because everybody who has brain rot up here would be fixed. The truth is going to come into all humanity. All humanity is going to know that there's one God. They're not going to be arguing. There's not going to be any atheists. Every religion on the face of this earth will literally burn down their own temples and their own books, except for Judaism. And they're going to know, hey, there is a God, and they're going to have prophets. They're going to be connected. They're going to know Torah in their heart, which means you're going to memorize it. They're going to know. So there's not even going to be debates like you see today, where you see goofballs arguing about if the Trinity is real, and they're like, oh, well, the Trinity's real, and they don't know anything about Hebrew. They don't know anything about the Tanakh, and they're using like a reference where it says the servant of David is writing a psalm about his Lord, and it says, my Lord told the Lord, and then they're like, well, that right there is one deity to another. No, it's not. It literally tells you that the servant is saying his Lord, David, is speaking to the Lord, Hashem. And y'all are like, oh, well, the Trinity's real. No, it's not. It's not. And then you all read the Epstein files. Man, if I had $1 for every Christian who has read the Epstein files and they're now anti-Semitic just because of the Epstein files, not even because they deep dived into Christianity and they drank from the well of anti-Semitism that's in that religion, but just from the Epstein files, if I had $1 for every Christian, I'd be a billionaire. I'd be a billionaire. I see it constantly. I have people and friends reaching out to me, telling me to get away from Judaism, get away from every Jew I know, because they read something in Epstein files and they think that that's really a part of it. And then one of them accused me of knowing all about it, that I'm drinking the blood and I'm doing this and that. Oh, I'm just protecting the Jew. You guys are crazy. You can read how the Talmudic Jew was debunked. And Candace Owens props it up as one of her favorite books. It's been debunked many, many times. You can literally read where they're using the same language, same phrase, same blood libels in the Epstein files. None of the people in the Epstein files circle that was in their cult, Illuminati, whatever they were Jewish and were part of Judaism. None of them. They're not even B'nai Noach. Not even that. Like, if B'nai Noach was over here, they're 7 miles away over on the left. Okay, like I don't know how people are this stupid. But I know how they're this stupid because the mass majority of Gentiles know nothing about Judaism. They know nothing about it. They don't know that there's laws. They don't know that there's 613 laws for the Jew. They don't know that hundreds of them cannot be done today because there's no temple. And then when you say that, they're like, oh, well, that just proves Judaism fails. No. They don't know that there's laws, and the way the laws are written up, it says you need the temple for it, and then there's laws for when the temple's not working. Like, it's in the laws. When there's no temple, you do this. When there's a temple, you do that. Like, it's not man-made, because man could not have predicted that there would be thousands of years where there is no temple. Hello? But God did. God was telling the prophets, this is what you write. These are the laws. And it's in the Tanakh. You don't need the Talmud for it. You can see the laws of the temple. You see why they have a red heifer. You see that even to go up to the temple grounds, you need the sprinkling of the red heifer ashes on you. Why would mankind write a religion where they say that the most rarest animal on the earth, its ashes are needed to go up to the temple of that religion? And it's been thousands of years that all of the earth is scanned constantly, and we have not had a red heifer for thousands of years. Hello? And now suddenly, we have 13 different candidates for the red heifer, and the majority of them have passed 33 Bet Din inspections and have been registered as successful red heifers. Imagine that. Thousands of years, not one of these animals were on the planet Earth. Think about that for a minute. It's prophecy being fulfilled, because when Mashiach comes, if the temple gets built, you need the red heifer. You don't just need Mashiach, you need the red heifer. What do we have? We have 13 of them. So far, we have 13 of them. Now, what happens whenever Bet Din has successfully said, this is a red heifer? If even just one of them, let's say 12 of them don't pass every inspection. Let's say one of them does. Guess what you get? They're going to sacrifice the red heifer, and they're going to make the ashes. They do need a certain person, though. It's going to be hard for them to find the certain person to ritually slaughter that red heifer. That's a whole nother video. But guys, just because you read on the Epstein files that Epstein and them are drinking blood and eating babies, and they say, let's raise a toast, this is what the Jews do, that does not mean that's what the Jews do. Okay? It's beyond. I never thought I'd have to make this video. Out of all the videos that I've ever made, because I've made hundreds. My account has had hundreds and hundreds of videos that I removed because I thought there were better videos on YouTube by better people who articulated it better than what I did. So I was like, well, I'm not going to step on their feet, even when my video was older. Guys, I never thought I'd have to make this video. Just because Epstein tells you that this is what the Jews do, doesn't mean that's what the Jews do. Like, I can't even fathom having that shallow of a mind. Whew. It's crazy. We live in a crazy world. We do. We live in a crazy world, guys. Anyways, take care. Have fun. If you're watching this and you're lost, or you feel alone in the world, get a rabbi. I tell people all the time, get a rabbi. Make friends with Orthodox Jews. There's a bunch of them on Facebook. You can reach out to them. Just even tell them, hey, I'm not a Jew. I just want to reach out. Learn something new. Take care, guys.